Rise of the Floodborn has been released, and there are already plenty of things going on. However, today there are 8 cards that I want to identify early on that I think you should start trying to play with in your decks because you might be surprised of how good they actually are, and not enough people are talking about them. Let's get into the video. Lady Tremaine, Imperious Queen, is a 6 cost uninkable 3/4 with 2 lore and shift 4 and the ability of power to rule at last. Makes this card so special is that she's a 6 cost removal that gets around Ward because her ability of power to rule last is whenever you play this character, each opponent chooses and banishes one of their chosen characters. Now, for ward means you can't target it. It cannot be targeted by your opponent. But because of the way in the wording of power to rule at last, it actually gets around the keyword, which is a big deal in dealing with threats like Cusco, like Pete, among others. At the end of the day, she is still a 2 lore threat that can close out games when necessary, and it allows for removal up the curve when the opponent is on the draw, along with cheap follow-up to removal of Be Prepared. Now, in most cases before, we had seen cards like uh Maleficent, Monstrous Dragon come in and cost 9. When you have to cost 9, it's kind of your entire turn as a follow-up to Be Prepared if you're in that situation. But if you have to be prepared early, most cases you actually are incapable of following up with a card like Monstrous Dragon. Lady Tremaine's the opposite. She allows for you to follow up from Be Prepared at a cheap cost, along with maybe doing something else on your turn. This is one of those cards that I haven't seen enough of in most of the initial list. There were some reports from the weekend that did have it that we will be covering in the Metaport, so definitely hit that subscribe button if you want to hear about those decks. But all in all, across the board, I don't think anyone's giving this character enough respect for how good and how powerful she's going to end up being in the Rise of the Floodborn metagame. So it's definitely something you should be looking out and adding to your Ruby list. Yzma, Scary Beyond All Reason. 6 cost, inkable 4/4 with 2 lore, shift 4, and Cruel Irony. When you play this character, shuffle another chosen character card into their player's deck. That player draws 2 cards. Yzma is an inkable 2 lore multi-purpose character, trading in your cheap leftover characters for 2 or more cards, and in a pinch can remove problematic characters from the board. This is a card that very early on, I think people overlooked because they're kind of saying, oh, we don't need it. Oh, there's enough draw power in Amethyst. Oh, it's not a big deal. And I don't think they're giving this card nearly enough respect as a 6 cost inkable 2 lore. And honestly, just a threatening way to win the game yourself. What I love about this card is that it actually is really good at removing early cards that you play kind of just to stave off the board. A lot of times in games, you and your opponent end up sitting around because they don't want to force challenges or they don't want to make unfavorable trades. And when you do that, you're just able to kind of like put, Maleficent Sorceress back in your deck. I've been playing a lot of Amethyst Steel, and with that, I've been using it to put back Zimbas in my deck and put back baby Cinderellas when I don't need them anymore in my deck and things like that. So there's a lot of like really efficient ways to utilize this for yourself. But the crazy thing is that in a pinch, if we're in a certain point in the game and lore totals are close and you need to, kind of differentiate the board, this card can come in and remove an opponent's win condition. At the end of the day, we can send back Stitch Carefree Surfer. Yeah, they draw 2 more cards, but if that's how they were going to win the game, well, now you took that away from them. It can push back Rapunzel's. It can push back, any of our three lore threats. Of course, this one doesn't get around Ward, so that's notable. But the concept of mostly utilizing this for yourself to draw more cards and kind of get rid of characters that you don't really necessarily need anymore, and then the ability of when in doubt using her as a removal spell. This is a great inkable card that more people really need to give a shot. And honestly, you don't need another Yzma at all to shift. And much like Lady Tremaine, you didn't need one of those either. This card's just good as a 6 cost character to play on curve or when necessary. Hiram Flavorsham Toymaker. 4 cost, inkable, 1/6 with 1 lore, and the ability of Artificer. When you play this character, and whenever he quests, you may banish one of your items to draw 2 cards. This character has an unbelievable card drawing engine. 6 willpower is a ton of health for a 4 cost character and combos so well with cheap items. Honestly, Hiram Toymaker may be my favorite card of the set. After a weekend of testing, after seeing this guy live in action and seeing the success of everywhere on Pixelborn and honestly, even in person, you name it. This character might be one of the most underutilized characters in the game currently. And I believe he could very well end up being a meta defying character in Rise of the Floodborn. Pairing him with popsicles, pairing him with shields, pairing him with any number of items in the game that are cost efficient, cheap, do something when they come into play or getting a utilization out of them early just for you to be able to hire them away is a phenomenal line in the game. Having 6 willpower early on is really problematic for so many different decks. But the real truth here is that he does something the moment he comes into play. He gets rid of Popsicle, or he gets rid of a Shield of Virtue, or he gets rid of a Gumbo Pot. Whatever type of engine you might be wanting to play with him, he has the ability of just getting rid of all those things that may have already done something in the game for you to just draw 2 cards out of the effect. And then having the ability to, for the rest of the game, just getting rid of your Fishborn Quills when you deem them unnecessary, getting rid of honestly whatever other random item might be hanging out in play. But the point here is that is that Hiram himself really has the draw power that is undeniable, and it's going to be very problematic for so many decks. This card alone, along with Yzma and some others that are listed on here, may be the reasons why discard simply isn't going to be enough when the engines are just so much better, and Hiram is at the forefront of all of those draw engines. Benjin, Guardian of the Dragon Gem, is a 3-cost inkable 2/3 with 2 lore with the ability of We Have a Choice. When you play this character, you may banish chosen item. As a 3-cost inkable 2 lore with an upside, the 2/3 stat line on a 3 inkable is also great, and it's cheap, efficient item removal. In set 1, we got away from playing 4 of Beast in all of our decks, but this guy on curve as a 2/3 with 2 lore and the ability to remove items earlier in the game to kind of offset popsicles, to kind of offset lanterns. I've seen Sleepy's Feuds in decks now. I think Magic Mirror has kind of gone away, but you might also see your early game spell books. The point is that now you have the ability to get rid of the items as early as turn 3, and maybe even before your opponent had any real chance of utilizing them. So if they're taking their turn off to play an item, and then you're taking your turn to play a character that removes their item and is a 2 lore threat, this guy ends up being a staple in pretty much every Steel deck. His the downside of playing him just doesn't outweigh the cost of not playing him. Having a 3-cost removal to items is very good, and at the very least, he's just a card that you can row. It's not like this character is uninkable. It's not like this character only has 1 lore. Like, he's even a threat early on in the game, and I think because of that, he should just end up being a staple in the metagame for Steel, probably through the entire course of the Rise of the Floodborn metagame. I hope you guys are enjoying the video so far. If you are, smash that like button for me. If you're new to the channel, this is your first video and you're enjoying the vibes, make sure you hit that subscribe. And of course, let me know in the comments what character or what card you think should be on this list. What card are players not talking about enough and that you believe that needs some more insights and belief that this card might be a true meta statement for Rise of the Floodborn? Let me know in the comments. Beast Tragic Hero is a 5-cost inkable steel character with 3 strength, 5 willpower, and 2 lore. With the ability of Shift 3, and it's better this way. At the start of your turn, if this character has no damage, draw a card. Otherwise, he gets +4 strength this turn. Beast is an inkable 2 lore multi-purpose character. He has shift 3 for cheaper value, and it's better this way, maybe one of the most overlooked abilities in Rise of the Floodborn. Honestly, Beast is a character that every time I read him, I always said, like, yeah, this card's probably okay. It'll probably see some play. It'll probably be maybe like a 2 of or something like that. Well, after a weekend of playing with this character, on paper, on Pixelborn, and watching other players utilize and kind of conversing with the team and things like this, this character might very well end up being the best legendary in the set, which is of a hot take maybe, but his ability is really, really good. Having just the character that when he comes in play, it's like if you don't find a way to damage him, I just get to draw an extra card next turn. And then if you do and you don't remove him flat out, he just becomes this like 7 attack power character that can get rid of anything that you want, which is insane. So there's just no downside to him. And then all the more, he's inkable. So like even if there is a world where somehow this card isn't the best thing you can be doing on turn 5, inking him is still an option. So you don't even have to hold them in your hand or be forced to sit around like, nope, when in doubt, you can ink this guy. But in all honesty, you're going to want to play this guy on curve in most matchups, even if it's against opposing steel matchups that have the ability to very easily damage him. You're like, okay, that's fine. You took the damage. That's great. I'll just use him as a giant beat stick. Like he just has a million power. It's really, really good. This card's honestly one of the, like I said at the beginning, one of the cards I overlooked for sure. I always thought it was playable, but I didn't realize that how powerful this character might actually be. And there's a reason why you can see his price tag hitting above $35 currently, because he very well might be one of the outstanding characters and legendaries in Rise of the Floodborn. Pete, bad guy. 5 cost, inkable, emerald 3/4 with 2 lore, with the abilities of Ward, take that. Whenever you play an action, this character gets +2 strength this turn, and the ability Who's Next. When this character has 7 strength or more, he gets +2 lore. Pete is a 5 cost inkable Ward character with 2 lore to start, the potential to easily trade up when needed, and it can be a 4 lore character for bigger gains. This might be the biggest hot take that you're going to hear from me in this video. But for me, I actually think Pete is just a flat out better card than Kuzco. And here's why. Kuzco, although he is a 2/4, although he has Ward and he has the ability to remove whatever you need him to remove when they attack, he doesn't have the ability to go on a challenging offense. You never ever want to be challenging with your Cuscos because then you lose out on 3 lore and you probably have unfavorable trades anyway, or you need additional help. Pete's the opposite. Pete is a 3/4 already with a better strength stat line, and he still has Ward, and he's inkable, and he has the ability of whenever you play an action, you get the upside of going to 5 strength, which gives him the capacity of actually being able to trade up when necessary. And then all the more while, there are strategies that can work within him to get him the 7 lore easily or 7 strength easily, so you can turn him into a 4 lore character. For me, taking the trade for Cusco's guaranteed 3 lore and low stat stick body with an uninkable, Pete is absolutely a card that I'm 100% going to play over Cusco, honestly, 100% of the time. For me, unless there's a way that I'm going to play Pete and Cusco, I don't think that's ever going to happen for me. I think Cusco's just, unfortunately, this character 100% just power creeps him, being so that every other uninkable cards in Emerald are so, there's just so many of them. Like, you have to make a choice somewhere. And I think when you start looking at breaking down what is necessary and what cards you truly need, making Pete as an inkable, like repurposed Cusco is exactly where I want to be in deck building. And I suggest that you give him a shot. Teeth and Ambitions is a 2 cost inkable Ruby action song. Deal 2 damage to chosen character of yours to deal 2 damage to another chosen character. Teeth and Ambitions is a cheap Ruby removal for early turns of the game. It combos with several in-color cards and many outside. It's a song that can be used at all parts of the game. Teeth and Ambitions is one of those cards that, from the moment it was revealed, I said that it was going to be a staple for Ruby. But I don't think people understand why it should be. In the early goings of the game so far, there are Stitch, Cinderella, the Queen, Pinocchio, Pascal. I could keep going and going and going of early game threats that players are playing that this card on curve can remove before they even get a chance to utilize the character. If you can take away Cinderella from being able to sing on turn 2, that's great. If you can take away a turn 2 shifting queen, that's great. A way to stop Pinocchio before he gets 3 lore. Again, this is all incredible. This card allows you to do all of those things, and in the decks that you want to be playing it in, you have the ability to play characters that are even able to survive the song. So if you can play Teeth of Ambitions on your one cost Minnie Mouse, great. You can even shift into the bigger Minnie Mouse and be able to sing this song on curve. You can play this with any 2 cost character and sing along with that as well. And a lot of the characters that you can choose to play will have that 3 health barrier. So it means you don't even lose your character in the deal. Of course, adding on the fact that it's great with Dinner Bell really helps. Adding on to the fact that it's great with combinations of Amber or Sapphire that can heal off the damage through popsicles, through coconuts, through gumbo pots, whatever you want to do, or adding in Amber that can just Rapunzel it away later on, or through other means of healing. All in all, this card really just puts in the check aggressive strategies in the game and even non-aggressive strategies that are just utilizing Cinderella. But it also takes away, again, it takes away the queen, it takes away Stitch, it takes away baby Cinderella, anything that's there that's really only there to be shifted onto later. It gets rid of most of those problematic issues because they all have 2 willpower. So when you look at those, the pros and cons of the fact that you have this ability to remove those characters from ever getting their full utilization, it's really a no-brainer. At the end of the day, it's also still inkable. So when it's bad, you can still ink it, as opposed to cards like Fire the Cannons that are uninkable that you have to wait and then utilize at your best opportunity. At the end of the day, this card, when it's not good, when your opponent doesn't play a 1 or 2 cost early, you can just get rid of it and row it and then not worry about it or ink it. And then, of course, later on in the game, you might even be able to get the full utilization of just playing Arm to the Teeth, doing 2 damage to a character, dinner belling that character away for more draw power, or Rapunzeling it away, or healing it for other means of requirements that you might need to gain lore through other means. All in all, the card is very good, and it definitely should see a little more play. If you haven't tried the card yet, you need to put it in your deck and just see what it's actually capable of doing and how it could really be successful. And it might really turn, specifically in your aggro matchups, if you're having a lot of struggle, this is the card for you. This is the card that you should absolutely be playing and giving a shot. Grand Duke is a 2 cost inkable Amber character, 2 strength, 2 willpower, 1 lore, with the ability of Yes, Your Majesty. Your prince, princess, king, and queen characters get +1 strength. Grand Duke is an inkable cheap board presence, and Yes, Your Majesty allows many cheap, efficient Amber characters to trade favorably on curve or up the curve, even in mirrors. Characters such as Cinderella and Zimba are 2 prolific characters that both get better because of the Grand Duke. As you see next to me here, there's going to be a list of rotating characters that constantly just get +1 strength from this card. While this card on its own doesn't seem like a very impactful character, it really does alter strength totals, and it really does allow you to trade up characters that your opponents really aren't expecting. Specifically, if you don't play this card on 2, but you utilize him later on turn 3 or turn 4, like compounding it with cards that you have in play. For example, Zimba is the prime example. Future King and Protective Cub are both in this, both get hit by Yes, Your Majesty, which therefore then turns him into 2 strength and 3 strength characters, which opponents simply aren't used to. Zimba Protective Cub going to 3 strength allows for him to protect well against so many problematic characters, even such as Rafiki, who would get trades from before, would now no longer get to live to see another day. Not that I expect a ton of Rafiki in the metagame, but it is just a notable factor that if this existed in Chapter 1, we may have seen Grand Duke even then. But it does go further than that. The fact that this character, it's just a low, cheap, efficient way to get plus strength. A card that I really always often go to from another game would be a Glorious Anthem effect, which is just a +1 across your board. And with deck building restrictions for these 4 sub these four characteristics of prince, queen, king, princess. This is just another addition to that and really can turn the tides in your favor for certain challenging matchups. Rise of the Floodborn has given us many new cards, and with that, it's always hard to assess the best ones to utilize. If it wasn't on this list, some of the more honorable mentions that I want to add are Jafar, the Floodborn character for Jafar with the snake. That card has been phenomenal so far in early testing. World's Greatest Criminal Mind is just a complete answer to a lot of the more problematic characters coming into play now, with more Timoteos, with Cinderella, among others. Even just being able to remove Maui so you don't get your characters 2-for-1 and things like that. There's just so many good uses for that card that the fact that it is inkable, I think, will create a nice different play line for you to have removal out of Amber. But in all honesty, this set has a ton of untapped potential. I'm hoping the 8 cards listed in the video today are a reason enough for you to put them in your decks and give them a shot. Thank you so much for watching today. If you're looking for the meta report, it will be the next video on the channel. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and look at the first reports from the meta of Week 1, Rise of the Floodborn. I will catch you guys in the next video.